actually deleted part 2 of the last video, but there's been some more things happen since then, so I'll just try to fill you in. I am on the way to Clovis, New Mexico on a very, very empty road in the middle of nowhere, so I thought I would make a video real quick, since basically all I have to do is make sure I don't run over a tumbleweed, which I can do. So, kind of just like an update, I did make a couple runs on moves. After Kim adjusted him, I think his hips still look really wonky, but you could hear the adjustment be made, and it was just like, it was pretty radical, the noise. It was like a pop, but it's like a movement. I don't really know how to explain it. It's like you heard and you saw a shift, and then just instant relief come from moves. I mean, like licking, put his head down, even sweating a little bit, just like there was a major manipulation there in his hips. And Kim told me, he said, okay, now go home. I'm just 3 miles away. So he's like, go home and long trot him and work on him with your PEMF machine. So I was like, okay. And I kind of giggled because like Moves doesn't long trot. I've had him for 3 years and this sucker can't extend. I always thought he just preferred loping. I have a couple horses that are ex-polo trained, and so they're not big trotters either. They would rather just really collectively lope. And I kind of thought, well, Moves must kind of like be like that. And I should have known, because other than the outside training that some of my polo horses or the ex-polo trained horses have, where they can trot, but like they really don't want to, or they just don't think that they should, for whatever. I have had some horses come off the racetrack that should want to extend at a trot, and when they don't, it's typically been back, hips, stifles. For some reason that never really clicked with Moves. I just thought he's kind of like a hotter bred horse. He's kind of hot, and maybe he just doesn't want to trot. I don't think he could, y'all. I think he wanted to, but he couldn't. So I, got him adjusted or whatever, and I went home and trotted him, and he didn't feel any different to me. And I worked on him with a machine, and like the machine went crazy over that right hip, and I was like, okay, well, something was done here, because these muscles are showing quite a bit of inflammation, which when you have a major manipulation, I would think that there would definitely be an inflammatory response. And so I worked on him with the machine. I've made 2 runs on him. He got to where like he would turn the second barrel and get like 3/4 of the way around it and basically just lunge out of it, like to stick a hawk and like make that twisty turn, that twisty move, and then go. He like literally couldn't do it. And it was the full turn that was killing him. He could kind of get by the 3rd barrel. His 1st barrel was really stiff. I assumed maybe hocks, because I would notice it when he'd go to plant that hawk or in the place. We had hawks injected, didn't help. This whole time we've been looking at his hips going, did he hip himself on a gate, and knock down a hip or fracture a pelvis or something at some point, because there's definitely something there. And I thought, well, I don't even know if it can be fixed. I just don't know that he's ever going to be that 1D barrel horse, because I don't know if he can make the move that he needs to make in order to be that competitive. So the last 2 runs I've made, the first run, you could tell that it had been, he was just like dull, didn't trust it in the back of his mind, wanted to work, really confused about his lines and his pockets and stuff. Didn't know if he could, he can turn little. He doesn't require much pocket, even though he's a big horse, but because he was sore, I think he was trying to move himself out to take away the impact of that turn, and so he didn't really know where he wanted to be. The second run, no exhibitions, ran him in a brand new arena. I've never been there before, big standard pattern in an O-ring, and felt some panic going to the third barrel. Wasn't sure what that was all about. He stepped out on the third, but like won some money in the 3D, a second run back with a tough group, and I thought, oh, I think I just got my horse back. And he bled, something that, you know, he's not in the best condition anyways because he's been off for 4 months, and that was a standard. So I was like, but he's kind of shown symptoms of maybe being a bleeder before, so I'll just put him on Lasix from now on. But then I took him to Andrews, and he really wanted to turn hard, and my timing was off, and I rode terrible. But he really wanted to turn hard. I have noticed that when I'm doing his stretches and things like that, because I'm still trying to stretch that hip and I know that he's probably got muscles that have been set a certain way for so long that I don't want them to pull that pelvis out of alignment again. So I'm trying to really work on stretching and keeping him limber there between visits from Kim. And I've noticed he's really reluctant when I have to hold him in like a position that would kind of put that stifle in a bind. And so I went and had his stifles injected yesterday, and my machine, my PMF machine, would really pulse over a stifle, and I should never get a pulse in a stifle. So even on a really low setting, it was pulsing, and I thought, oh man, he's definitely got a lot of inflammation there. I did have them x-ray that stifle. His x-ray looks phenomenal. It looks great. He's just got inflammation, probably from traveling all wonky. That's my prediction. So we'll see. Either that or he had that inflammation in his hocks and it made his stifle sore. There's really no telling what came first, the chicken or the egg. But I think the majority of the problem is because his hips are so unlevel, and I think he's got like a pelvic thing going on. I think he probably hipped himself on a gate at the track or somewhere, and maybe has had a fracture in the past, and so there's nothing I can do about that. Almost have to train around it in a way, and do a lot of therapy. And luckily I have a PMF machine, and friends that have like aqua treads and cold spas and all the things. So I will keep him therapied for sure. But as far as the WCRA standings go, I'm sitting pretty good. It's really funny because like everybody has contributed a little bit. Even Sister got some points in a novice class the other day. So it's kind of cool that like all 4 horses have contributed. I don't know who I will run in Corpus Christi. I don't really have a little bitty pattern horse that is rodeo season. Like Spencer doesn't necessarily like rodeos at all. And especially performances, he hates loud noises, so that's going to be interesting. And Moves is obviously very green, and so, but he loves rodeos. So I don't really know what I'm going to do. I just wanted to get qualified. I thought it'd be really cool to qualify for a WCRA major event. I just wanted to say that I did and throw that on the resume, which I think I'm going to be able to do. We've got about 3 weeks away. I'm sitting pretty good. And then I'm like, oh my God, like what I actually have to run in Corpus Christi. Like when I get there, I don't have a horse. I mean, I do, but I was like, don't have a little bitty pattern seasoned rodeo horse. So I don't really know what's going to happen at that point. Who knows who's going to get the call for that, but it'll be fun anyways. Just getting there is cool. It's kind of like, for me, it'd be like, you know, placing in an American qualifier and qualifying, like just to say that you did that's pretty freaking special. Whether you go on to win the whole American, like at some point, that would be really cool. But just, you know, placing in an American qualifier, qualifying for the American or something, like that's a big deal. And for me, so is qualifying for the limited rodeo and the major qualifying event for the WCRA. So I'm just as happy about it. Don't know what I'll do when that time actually comes. Moves actually might be the one that goes, actually, which would be just crazy. Spencer's out for a few weeks until Ruby Buckle. We had an outside horse run through a couple panels and collapse them on him. Just cut cut him up pretty bad. So I've been pretty upset about that. He has been making some very top 1D, very tough caliber runs, and so I'm a little bit heartbroken that he is not going to get to go to the Ruby Buckle in shape. I've been really upset about it. I did take that outside horse home. She's, you know, just a little bit too aggressive to be at my house. All my horses are in pretty close quarters, so if they don't get along, then they can't stay. And I'm not an outside person trainer anyways. I take in one outside horse at a time, and it's not a major source of income for me. And so if they don't just like super kumbaya, they don't get to stay. And it was just an unfortunate deal because I really, really like the filly, but I like making good runs on my good horse too, and keeping my horses sound, including the outside horses sound. And you know, I think when they're just a little extra aggressive, and I don't think she's aggressive naturally. I think I took her buddy away to get bred to Bronson, and it pissed her off. And then she was just like mad at everybody after that, because she was actually really pretty chill the first week when she was still with her girlfriend. But then when I took her girlfriend to meet Bronson's girlfriend and she could still see her, I think that really upset her. And she was a young horse, and so I don't think she's really been exposed to very many other horses. So that was unfortunate. I think that Spencer will be fine. We're dealing with some swelling issues, obviously, some abrasions that are pretty bad. Nothing needed stitched because it's all on a cannon bone. So as long as we don't have any like fractures or like stress fractures, we can't stitch anything. Right now we're just trying to keep inflammation down, and hopefully he will be fine for Ruby Buckle, which is coming up in April, at the end of April and May. It's a weekend after the BBR finals. He's basically just going to get like the best therapy ever until then, and hopefully he's ready. The issue is Guthrie's a standard pattern. Spencer's never had the lungs in his very best condition to be very fast on a standard. So, he's in pretty good shape right now. I ran him the other day. He ran a 1, but I almost fell off on the third barrel, so we stepped out quite a bit. I think he probably could have run a 4 or 5 pretty comfortably. But at that level, 17.45 is really not that impressive on a standard. So I think I will just be happy when I enter Ruby if he can run in the 40. It's pretty disappointing. But it just is what it is, you know. And if he's not ready, if that leg is not ready, then we just won't go. We'll just roll our entry to another race, and we'll just vet out and go somewhere else. It's definitely a race that I want to make, but not worth running a crippled horse. So I'm just not going to do it. But we'll just say prayers that he's back. But other than that, everything's been going good. Because Moves got injected yesterday, because Spencer is hurt, and because Sister's not fast enough at this point, I went and took Bronson away from his mares this morning. I just went and grabbed him out of the pasture, and I'm running him and Clovis today. So he's in actually really good shape from being out of the pasture and running around mares and breeding and stuff. But I always wonder if when they're live covering, if they get a little stifle sore. You know, I'm really not sure. But this is a very small pattern. It's like a 15-second pattern, and the ground's great. And so I definitely won't ask him for his guts. It's a 5D, so I don't have to. And I just really wanted to bring something. I'm actually delivering a horse here this morning, and I just they have a really, really good added money barrel race here at the same place. So I thought, well, I really want to bring a horse if I've got to come anyway. And so Bronson had to come, and he doesn't care, you know, and he doesn't ever really need conditioning, he has like a large heart, I think. He stays in insane condition, whether he gets ridden or not. He could stand in a stall for 6 months and he'd come out and run in a standard, and not breathe hard. I really want to get him tested for that large heart, or maybe track it back and see if maybe he's somehow carries that large heart gene, because his condition is unmatched of any horse I've ever had. And he's 21 years old, and he's still in better condition than any horse that has been getting run regularly at my house. It's phenomenal. So hopefully he passes that along to babies, because that would be really nice. But anyway, so I'll let you guys know how I do. I'm feeling really optimistic right now. There's been some stressful times.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto US 70 West, US 84 West.
You know, things that I've been really stressed about, you know, and just down about a little bit, I think. But I'm kind of in a really good headspace right now.
Take the second left onto US 70 West, US 84 West.
Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for the WCRA segment, knowing that I'm doing well, and just need to push through, knowing that all my horses have contributed to that goal is pretty cool. Like I said, I don't know who I'll run when I get there, but just getting there is pretty nice. There was no qualifiers for this. It was like a hauling contest, basically. And so just, you know, in order to
continue on US 70 West for 28 miles.
In order to get there, everybody kind of had to pull their weight in the barn, so that was kind of cool. And that makes you feel good, you know. It's spring and the weather's beautiful right now. So I'm just really I am enjoying life right now. I know that people are freaked out about diesel prices and inflation and everything. I hauled through 2008 and the Obama era and all this stuff. That was no fun. Diesel prices were insane then too. I feel like I made it out of that okay, and I hauled really pretty hard through it. I had a couple horses that really paid their way, and so, you know, those might be the ones that get to go for a while, or be the ones that pay their way, where I know that they're solid and finished, and maybe colts get put on the back burner or stay in the exhibition or the practice pen longer than normal. I don't know, you know, I'll make those adjustments as it happens, but as of right now, I still plan to go just as hard as I always do. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. Clinic season has begun, and I'm super excited to see everybody in the coming months. It's going to be a good year no matter what. Diesel prices might hit 10 miles a gallon or $10 a gallon, and we might end up all riding our steeds to barrel races, but you know, at least they'll be warmed up when we get there.